Your environment can and is most likely ruining your life. And let me explain this because I have two isolated events and examples that I can provide for you guys. But I think a lot of people think that they can, through sheer willpower, determination, and motivation, supersede the effects of their environment. And I think, is there possibly an example of someone being able to achieve this? I don't doubt that. However, more oftentimes than not, your environment will trump you almost every single time. When I was a kid, I grew up with a lot of behavioral issues. I was a smart kid, but I was a troubled kid. And every time report card conferences came around, my teacher said the same thing. She's a smart kid, but she has behavioral problems. She's a smart kid, but she has behavioral problems. And I remember maybe in the sixth grade or the seventh grade, I decided for whatever reason that I was going to actually try academically for the first time. I'm going to actually try. So I did things like I sat in the front of the class instead of in the back of the class. I tried not to talk to people. I purposefully sat away from my friends. I didn't speak in class. I made sure to raise my hand and I made sure to really be a part of the academic culture. And keep in mind, I was doing this in one of the worst schools in my town at the time. I grew up in Bridgeport, Connecticut for half of my life. And for those of y'all who know Bridgeport, Connecticut, y'all know it's tea. But nonetheless, in that first semester of me doing this, I got straight A's for the first time in my life, right? However, the next semester, what ended up happening was I eventually succumbed to my environment. And I went from sitting in the front of the class to not in the back, but in the middle of the class, close to my friends. I was making more friends, so it was kind of hard to avoid my friends, etc. And because the environment was not an environment that fostered, academic success and things like that, I ended up succumbing to it. By the second semester, I had two D's, one F, and maybe one A minus. Luckily for me, luck stepped in and I ended up moving to a different city within that semester. And from there on forth, seventh grade, second semester, moving on, I was getting like no lower than a 3.6 GPA per semester, per quarter, or whatever. And it was because I moved. And I do genuinely believe if I remained in that environment, if I remained in Bridgeport, Connecticut, I would have succumbed to said environment. But instead, I got lucky and I left. My mom decided to move us out of that neighborhood, that city, and I was able to flourish. I had the natural talent. I was naturally smart. However, I couldn't flourish because the environment was weighing me down. And even when I tried to flourish, even when I tried to make a conscious effort, I still ended up failing. And another great example of this too is after high school, I started going to therapy, and I was really, really adamant on trying to, grow from my traumas and heal from my traumas. Except, hey, Buki, you couldn't do that.